Hello viewers, it's Bami and Deji here at Positive Girl, and so in today's video we'll be talking about a spouse who's done something wrong and they've refused to apologize. And so that's what we'll be discussing today. And so basically, just to set the background is that we have to understand the fact that the marriage institution is under attack and the enemy is doing everything possible to make the marriage institution to not work. And so you have to be mindful of this fact. Sometimes when you have issues in marriage, you have to bear in mind that the enemy is trying to blow a very small issue, is trying to blow it up into something really big where you don't want to forgive your spouse.
Normally there shouldn't be anything wrong in trying to apologize to your spouse, because I believe that when they become one, I mean, what do you have to gain from it anyway? Because if you've offended your wife, or the other way around, maybe you've offended your husband, there's nothing wrong in you trying to apologize that, I know I've done something wrong, and instead of just trying to allow some ego to set in. Now I think there are kind of like some few points that we need to talk about in this kind of when we're talking about this kind of topic. The first one is that there's something that we call obviously ego, that you're thinking that you don't want to stoop down so low that you don't know how to apologize.
In the case of your wife, in the case of your spouse.
Yeah, in the case of your spouse,
let me just push your ego aside.
Yeah, normally you should push it aside, because I mean, it's just like when Adam and Eve were in the Garden of Eden. Both of them were naked and they were not ashamed. So we should be able to push it aside and be plain to each other that I've done something wrong to you, and you shouldn't find it difficult to apologize.
One thing that I always say is that people need to be very careful of very small issues blowing up to be something very big, to be something like a big deal. Because the truth is, the enemy does not want your marriage to work. So you have to be aware, you have to be very conscious of the fact that your family unit has to continue to be a happy one. Because the fact of the matter is, the family unit determines our community. When family units are healthy, when they're strong, when they're happy, our communities will be strong, healthy and happy as well. And the family unit actually feeds into our community, into our nation. So all the things that happen around, all the things that you see on the streets, like stabbings or whatever, it starts from somewhere. It started from somewhere. It started from a home where one of them is not willing to forgive, one of them is not willing to move on from what the spouse has done. Another thing, I remember our one was a few weeks ago. You don't normally come shopping with us. I like to go shopping with the girls, like food shopping. Just try and show them how to.
Because it takes your time, isn't it?
No.
You end up spending 10 hours in the shop.
No, I don't. No, not food shopping. And then just by the door, I was about to pick a set of bunch of bags. And my husband said, no, there's bags in the boots, there's bags in the car. And I was like, no, there are no bags in the car. He was like, yeah, I'm very sure, positive, there are bags in the car. We got to the shop. Lo and behold, there were no bags in the car. There are no bags in the car. And guess what? He just bone faced like nothing happened. And I kept on looking at him for him to just admit that he was wrong. And my body was so itchy. My body was itching me to tell him that I thought he said there were bags in the car, but I kept quiet. So when he said, and we'll buy bags, I said, no, we're not buying any more bags. I've had enough of buying long life bags. I have like 50 long life bags, those strong bags at home that we paid 5p or whatever p for.
5 or 6p.
Yeah. So I said to him, I said, why should we keep buying all these bags? And then we got in the store. I always fold a shopping bag in my handbag just in case of anything. So I opened that one. Can you imagine shopping for a whole family of 4? We got to the till. I only had one bag. And my husband kept on saying, we need to buy more bags. I was like, no, we're not buying any. I put my foot down and he looked so upset. He was so vexed. But inside me, I was kind of proving a point that you were the one that
I was actually thinking that.
We got to the car. He made me in the cold. Can you imagine? This man. He made me put all the shopping in the boot. And there was me thinking, oh my gosh, it's so cold, it's freezing. He just stepped aside from the car. When I was done, he closed the boot, got in the car. When we got in the car, I was like, I started laughing, and we both started laughing. But what we're trying to say is it could have been a big issue. So what we're saying is try and find a way to resolve conflict in your marriage. Find whatever works best for you. And we have a few recommendations for conflict resolution. Do you want to?
Yeah, the first one is try to put yourself in the shoes of your spouse. That if, assuming that you're meant to apologize and you're not doing that, if it was you, what would you have done? So if you don't think about yourself. You have to love your neighbor like you love yourself. So if you are not, don't be too self-centered about I'm not going to apologize. And in my own case, the reason why I eventually apologized. At the heat of the moment, I was actually upset with myself because when I told you that we've got bags in the car, I actually meant it. I thought so not knowing that I left it by the door. So when I found out that I didn't put anything in there, I was so upset with myself. And I was so sure that. And the last thing that was coming out of my mouth was I'm sorry. I didn't even think about it. Maybe I should even say sorry. Not until you said you still haven't apologized. You have to deal with your ego because this is your spouse. It's not just ordinary friend out there. Just say I'm sorry. You're not going to die if you say I'm sorry. So I would prefer peace to reign rather than keeping malice. And there's something about this life. It's like a seed. If you don't say I'm sorry, that seed will keep on growing. And if you don't quickly uproot that kind of thing, and another thing happens again, you're not saying I'm sorry. All of us, we are human beings. It will become a bad fruit. And that's when separation or divorce starts coming in. It will get to a time that your spouse will be like, you know what, I've had enough. Because you've allowed it to accumulate, not saying sorry. So in order to avoid all that and to let peace reign, I think the best thing to do is just to say I'm sorry and let peace reign. Even if you are not the one at fault, deal with because I've noticed in this life, that when there's kind of like a misunderstanding between couple, it's not just the man. The wife has done something wrong as well. Maybe the man did 80%, and the wife has done maybe 20%. But the thing is that the wife, even if it's the man that is meant to apologize, maybe the wife, I'm just saying the wife, it can be the other way around. The wife can even say, you know what, my own part of the issue, the way I've offended you, let me say I'm sorry. In order to allow peace to reign. And a right-thinking man should be able to say, I'm sorry as well.
Right.
So there are so many things that we need to avoid. You don't want it to escalate into something that you cannot resolve later. You don't want it to get to that point of no return. So my own take on that is just to deal with your pride or ego and put yourself in the other person's shoes and just try and let peace reign and just say I'm sorry. Conclusion, our prayer is that God will give you the strength to be able to run your home as a husband or a wife, and God will give you the wisdom as well to know when to be able to say I'm sorry anytime you offend, because there's no point having that kind of pride and not wanting to say I'm sorry to your spouse. So our prayer today is that even not just you, everyone, including ourselves, that God will give us that kind of spirit of humility to be able to say I'm sorry to our spouse in order not to allow some issues to escalate into something that you cannot deal with eventually. So our prayer today is just that we should allow the Spirit of God to walk through us, and again the fruit of the Spirit as well, to know when to be able to apply self-control in some of the issues that we go through. So in conclusion, we're just praying that God would strengthen our homes and give us the wisdom that we need to be able to run effectively. Thanks for watching.